Guys, we got some crazy news. Biden is losing it. He really is. Trump says to stop or else. Right now, we have breaking news that Biden is discussing plans to strike Iran nuclear sites before Trump's inauguration. You can't make this stuff up. It makes no sense for Biden to go and literally send missile strikes when we have not done this whatsoever for the past couple of years. But right before Trump takes presidency to do this, we got the details on this, as well as the updated news over Johnson's allies warned that a speakership battle could delay Trump's victory certification. We've got a ton of members that have come out that say we need to get Trump into office and dealing with Mike Johnson later. But with this, guys, this breaking news that Trump is calling on Congress to stop Joe Biden over trying to attack Iran just before Trump takes his presidency, saying that this is insane, ridiculous, and shouldn't even be talked about. The thing is Biden, who said that they've been discussing this for a while, is now wanting to strike Iran's nuclear sites. On top of this, this is sparking a lot of speculation that the Biden administration is trying to get us into some type of proxy war, not proxy war, but type of war that could postpone Trump actually taking office in his full capacity as president. Trump has said stop or else to Biden and his administration, saying they will go after them if they do this. Also, we now have calls for the National Guard to be deployed to the nation's capital to protect Washington, D.C. ahead of Trump's inauguration. The reason being is that we are seeing multiple things happening across the United States that we cannot explain. There's things and incidents, there's a potential bomb threat involving an 18-wheeler in South Carolina. There was a plane that crashed in a factory in California. Another IED bomb was discovered and planted in a train car in Ohio that has been found. So people are calling for an all hands on deck to not only protect Washington, D.C., but also to protect President and his team. I'm going to show you all the receipts in a moment, guys. I'm telling you, there's so many things happening. It's an all-out attack across the nation against the United States. On top of that, with everyone who's trying to push for Mike Johnson to be reelected as Speaker of the House, we still have some Republicans who are doubling down, which that number has come up from yesterday being at 5 to now 7 Republicans who are saying no. Remember, Mike Johnson needs every single vote. He can only lose one. So if he doesn't get those 7 votes from Republicans, they have to come from Democrats. On top of that, Newt Gingrich has actually come out to endorse Mike Johnson to be the next Speaker of the House, saying we need to get Trump as president. We need to get his cabinet members in place, and we need to get the Trump agenda done. We got a ton of breaking news to show you today, guys. I'm telling you, you're not going to believe some of the things you see, but we are here to bring you the true life news. I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. I love seeing the green. Let's go. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation, guys. We are so grateful for your support to us. Want to say welcome to the family, Pamela Burns. Appreciate all your support. Remember, we give to charity with these donations, and we just want to continue growing that as much as possible. But we want to get right into the news, guys. Trump is not playing around. Biden is walking literally on thin ice right now, and a lot of people are calling for him to just stop doing anything. Check this out.
To my great friend and mentor, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor. Newt, Happy New Year. I don't know if you saw any of it. We had the current Speaker of the House. I know you've endorsed Mike Johnson. There's only a couple days to go to J6, January 6th certification of the election. My point is, first of all, Johnson's a good man. Second of all, this is no time for dawdling. And third of all, let's get the Trump agenda going again. I mean, if this horrible New Orleans thing doesn't prove that, nothing else will.
Well, look, I think that Mike Johnson has the hardest job in Washington. He has the smallest majority, I think, in history. And he has shown that he has the patience, the calmness. He's almost like Job. He's willing to sit and listen, talk to everybody. Now, some people would like to wave a magic wand. They'd like to throw a temper tantrum and have the world change. That's not how this works. The fact is, with President Trump's leadership and with Senator Thune's leadership in the Senate and with Speaker Johnson, I think if Republicans will agree to work as a team and legislating as a team sport fully as much as football or soccer or basketball, if they'll agree to work as a team, I think they can get an amazing amount done. And as you know, you and I are to get together on the urgent need to pass a really large tax cut and deregulation bill. That can get done, but it's going to require every Republican, even the most self-righteous, to decide that they're part of a team, that they're going to get the best deal they can get, but in the end, they're going to stay together. And I'm very concerned because there are a handful of them who think that they are somehow so much smarter and so much superior that they can reject the president, they can reject virtually all the members of their conference and go off and cause chaos. It'll be a very bad thing for America if Speaker Johnson is not elected tomorrow, and it will be, frankly, a very complicating thing for President Trump, who is supposed to get elected formally by the Electoral College on Monday. This is not a time for games. It's a time for working together.
Well, I made that point, in my opening riff. I said this is no time to dawdle because you're smack up against Monday, January 6th, is the certification process. And if all that fails, for all I know, Mr. Trump won't be sworn in on January 20th. And for all that fails, for all I know, then who knows who's going to be streaming across the border? Who knows who's going to come down from the northern border? Who knows who's going to run the FBI in an impartial, fair, and tough way? I mean, there's all these things are linked. Most of all, I want to get the Trump agenda in place, hit the ground running, Newt.
Well, and look, the fact is that the Founding Fathers designed a very difficult machine in order to make it impossible for a dictator to force it to work. And that means as citizens, we have to get together voluntarily, and that's hard. I understand that. I mean, I spent 20 years in the House, 4 of them as Speaker. I understand how complicated it is, but I'll tell you, if we didn't pull together as a team, we wouldn't have balanced the budget for 4 straight years, the only time in your lifetime. We would not have gotten a big tax cut. We would not have gotten welfare reform. All those things were a team effort. I think President Trump's going to come in ready to really do the right things for America, but he's going to need to have House Republicans and Senate Republicans work together with the executive branch to get it done. That's what the Constitution requires. And I think Mike Johnson absolutely is as well positioned to get this done as anybody, and it is an amazingly hard job.
So it is.
Guys, and the more that I'm listening to all this, what I'm hearing, because remember, Biden is doing some crazy things right now. So I showed you this. Biden discusses plans to strike Iran nuclear sites before Trump inauguration. We have the Johnson allies warn that a speakership battle could delay Trump's victory certification, as well as another reporting that Joe Biden and Jake Sullivan are considering bombing Iran right before President Trump takes office if Iran gets closer to making a nuke. God, there's always these problems that are happening, but it's like only at certain specific times do these issues arise that call for a certain action that, a Democratic Party, the Republican Party want to take. But what I'm seeing is that we have so many people that literally, I'm telling you, I'm not hearing radical change out of a lot of people, even Newt Gingrich, because all the stuff that we've seen out of Mike Johnson has not been changed whatsoever. But what they're trying to say is that Trump wants him, so we should just get on board. Thank you so much, Lenville McQuinn, for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Lenville some love in the chat. And to me, I'm a person that when I see wrong, I want to fix it. I want to see the right Congress act the right way. And I know Trump has a lot of things on his plate, but at the same time, too, I just don't like the rhinos, guys. Am I the only one? Let me know your thoughts There's a lot of things that are going on, especially with what's happening with all these attacks, which I'm going to show you the receipts in just a moment. But I want you to listen to this, because if we don't do something, there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes, even with Americans' jobs, that we really need to get on board to make sure that we put Americans first. One of the things too is that remembering that if we don't protect Americans right now, that we're going to still continue having this open border policy if Trump doesn't get into his presidency. Check this out.
Remember, there are no coincidences. You had 2 Army personnel, a tech sergeant in New Orleans, and an active duty, I believe, is being reported right now, Green Beret in Las Vegas. Has the U.S. Army under Austin, I know it's been building for years, is there a subterranean level of being taken over by radical jihadists, sir?
Well, thank you, Steve. Well, yes, this is the fruit of the indoctrination of DEI and CRT, and which has been shown in study after study. The more that is hectored, the audience is hectored by that, actually, the worse it becomes. I mean, Rutgers just came out with a report on that. So, let's talk about Matthew Livelsberger first. Also, apparently, Times of India is reporting that his wife was a very loud Trump hater.
Wow.
She watches the Trump feed every morning just so she has the motivation to kill someone. This is radicalization by the very forces saying they're trying to de-radicalize. No, that's not what their intent is. They're actually creating the problem that they say they're attempting to solve. It started back in the 90s. It was sensitivity training. It was safe spaces. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And under Bishop Garrison, the DEI czar under Austin, it just was hammering everybody, a white Christian male nationalist with guns. That's the problem, which creates that hate and discontent, which they say they're trying to solve. And it's been study after study. The more this is hectored and hammered home, the worse it will become. So yes, we have a radicalization problem, all right, in the military, and it's being created by this DEI culture. Now, it supposedly was semi-dismantled earlier this year.
Colonel, hang on. I know, we got to get to the total dismantling. Talk to me about the Houston area, though, in northern Mexico. I'm going to have Bensman up here in a moment. Why is it interesting that the sergeant that did the New Orleans horrible situation, if you want to see how horrible, go online and see about the victims, particularly the victims that didn't die instantly. The ones that died instantly, which is incomprehensible what happened to them, but the ones that didn't die instantly and had to suffer for hours before they died, and the ones that still have critical injuries, it's unbelievable what these people will do in delivering carnage. So tell me about why should Houston in this northern Mexico area be of particular interest to us?
Well, over a year ago, Steve, we talked about essentially the ungoverned space. Ungoverned space is extremely dangerous. It gives sanctuary. Sanctuary to who? Well, of course, the cartels, but they also have the Chinese special operators now running the cartels in northern Mexico, plus Iranian intelligence, plus ISIS. This is sanctuary for training, logistics, and intelligence. And Houston is really, in many ways, a forward operating base for this dangerous threat to America. So it's not just the invasion across the border, it's the ungoverned space in northern Mexico, which is a mortal danger because that provides the keyword sanctuary for them to train, plan, and equip. And it is going on. And so there's these dots that need to be connected here because it looks like Sham Din Jabbar was down in the Houston area. His mosque has now been referring any questions to CARE. So obviously they've chosen a nominal middle of the road spokesperson in CARE.
Guys, I'm telling you, like the things that are happening right now are not by coincidence. Check this out. So there is this bomb threat involving an 18-wheeler in South Carolina. I-85 is closed now. Like, yeah, I know, like, this is a picture of the interstate. You can't really see anything, but this is essentially happening right now. There was also a man has been arrested after he planted an IED on a train car in Payette, Idaho. I don't know if I'm saying that right. We'll probably hear it in the comments. But this is the thing, another thing that happened. So on top of that, I can't show the plane crash because it's just too much. But we're continuing to see multiple things that are literally happening here in the United States that is unsafe. And on top of that, we're getting this news that President Biden is reportedly considering plan to strike Iranian nuclear sites before Trump's inauguration from News Rated. And Trump is literally saying stop or else. Like, we have to get things under control. There's lots of things happening in the United States right now. Pam Campbell, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Thank you so much. Y'all show Pam some love in the chat, as well as Crunk Juice. Trump waited 4 years to get back in office. A few more days won't kill him. Johnson stabbed MAGA in the back several times. We need a new speaker. I 100% agree, Crunk Juice. And Lily O'Brien, member of the channel. Let's go. Y'all show them some love in the chat, as well as what's new. We need Biden out ASAP. Thank you, Joel, for your work. Y'all show them some love in the chat. Guys, I want to show you this right here because there's a lot of people that are getting behind Mike Johnson. And I know that they want to get Trump into office, but at the same time, too, I'm a person that when I see something, I just can't go against it. Listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Somebody corrected me in the comments. Check this out.
Good evening, everyone. Tomorrow we convene at noon in the House of Representatives, and our first order of business will be to vote for Speaker of the House. This is a historic vote, and it is the first order of business that we have to accomplish before we can even swear in as members of Congress. Now, here's how I feel about it. You all have seen me disagree with Mike Johnson at times. You've seen me fight against him at times. But you want to know something else? Here's what I recognize. For the past 4 years, all of you, and myself included, have put blood, sweat, and tears into electing President Trump. And when you want to talk about blood, President Trump himself actually was the one that shed blood after an assassin shot him in the face. Here's what I know. All of you are sick and tired and fed up out of the drama and all of the garbage that comes out of Washington, D.C. And after 2 terrorist attacks on our nation where innocent people were killed, and after 4 years of unbelievably horrific government policies, and now that we're in $36 trillion in debt, all of you at home, and myself included, are ready for the drama to end.
Yes.
Well, here's what I'm asking my colleagues to do. Let's put aside our pride, let's put aside our egos, and let's put aside the infighting. It's time to come together as Republicans, and it's time to do whatever it takes to make sure that we deliver the mandate that the American people told us to do. And that's why I'm excited tomorrow. I cannot wait to get started. I'll be voting for Mike Johnson. I will be looking ahead in complete hopefulness and working as hard as possible. You see, we're going to elect a speaker, and then we're going to swear in as members of Congress. And then on Monday, we're going to certify the most historic election in our nation's history when we certify Donald John Trump's election as 47th President of the United States.
Let's go.
We're going to spend a few weeks getting to work, working hard on preparing for his agenda. And then on January 20th, we're going to inaugurate Donald John Trump as the 47th President of the United States. Now, it's 18 long days until we get to that important day. And while all of us are praying, and many of us are scared after what we've seen, and many of us are unsure if we'll be even able to get there and see President Trump go back in the White House, I'm going to tell you this. I'm giving it my all, and I can't wait to get started tomorrow. All right, we'll see you there.
Guys, I'm telling you, a lot of support. You've heard Newt Gingrich, now Marjorie Taylor Greene. Go support Mike Johnson in his bid. But again, too, there's still a lot out there over what's actually going to happen. What I want to show you is the facts of where things are at with the actual numbers and what could potentially happen. Thank you so much, Lily O'Brien, for the super chat. So happy to be back. Happy New Year. Let's go. Y'all show Lily some love in the chat. Check this out.
Just how tight is the House race now?
Yeah, okay. So there are times when I see numbers and I feel like Joey from Blossom and go, whoa, this is an instance of it. Okay, Mike Johnson's major potential headache. It's the smallest majority at the start of a first session over 100 years. Because keep in mind, a lot of people will try and say, okay, you know, back in 1931. But keep in mind, the first session then didn't start actually until, I think, December. And there were a ton of vacancies. So I actually went further back into the record books and said, okay, when the first section actually started, and this is the smallest since at least 1917, if not further back, because we got 219 for the Republicans, because Matt Gaetz says he's not joining this Congress, and 215 for the Democrats likely tomorrow. We're talking about, yeah, it's pretty tight. It's pretty gosh darn tight. We're talking about a difference of, get this, just 4 seats between Republicans and Democrats, virtually no margin for error.
So how easy would it be for Johnson to lose on the very first ballot?
Yeah, okay, so let's do some math. I like doing math right after New Year's. Don't you? Not like that we had anything in our bodies, you know, that might make our minds go a little bit crazy. All right, GOP reps can sink Johnson's speaker's bid if on a given ballot at least. This is scenario number 1. Scenario number 1 is if 2 Republicans vote against him, of course, assuming 434 voted Dems, no Dems vote for Johnson. Or scenario number 2, 1 Republican votes against him, votes against Johnson, and 2 abstain, i.e. vote present. So it's either 2 or 3, the most likely scenarios of Republicans that can sink Mike Johnson. And at this particular point, either of these ones look like a real possibility.
And we know, because we just talked to Congressman Auchincloss, that no Dems plan on voting for Johnson.
Correct.
So
wow.
That is a scenario. It's either of these 2, if that holds true.
Correct.
All right, recent history. We've been through this before. Like I said, it's kind of a Groundhog Day. What are you seeing in the last couple of times this has happened?
Yeah, so the idea that Republicans might go against the speaker choice of the majority of the Congress ain't something that seems that crazy given the last 2 races, ballots it took to elect a speaker. You go back to January of 2023, 15 ballots for Kevin McCarthy, the most since 1859-60, and the first multi-ballot race since 1923. And then in October, we were like, let's do it all again. It took 4 ballots to elect Mike Johnson, and actually took more days for the Johnson one than the McCarthy one. We were talking over a week. So folks, look, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We don't know, but get your seatbelts, buckle in. It's a new year, but it's the same old story when it comes to speaker races being quite nutty.
Guys, I tell you what I like about that guy is that whenever he says everything, it's purely factual. Nothing to do with opinions or anything like that, just purely facts. What I want to show you is that, again, too, a lot of people are coming out, what are we going to do? We cannot delay Trump's agenda. And I want you to hear from some more people over what's potentially going to happen, because they're feeling the pressure right now to get Trump into office, because Biden's wanting to attack Iran. We got all places across the United States being attacked. And he said we need order that Biden can't deliver. Check this out.
The speaker's battle, Mark Thiessen, Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, on support for Speaker Mike Johnson. Watch.
So do you support Speaker Johnson or not?
Right now, I think that Mike has done an admirable job under tough conditions, but I'm going to keep my options open. I want to have a conversation with Mike. I don't know where this is going right now, but with Thomas Massie already saying he's a hard no, people like Victoria Sparks saying that they're likely a no, that's concerning. And we just got to make sure that we get the best person for the job under the circumstances.
What do you think? Mark, does it go 1 round, 2 round, knockdown, drag-out battle?
Well, I think the difference is Donald Trump is the president-elect now, and so I think these Republicans need to stop the circular firing squad and get in line. Donald Trump said he wants Johnson as his speaker, and they need to do what Donald Trump tells them to do. And we don't have time for this. He's got a bold 100 days agenda. You got someone like Tom Massie, who his charge against Johnson is, well, he worked with Democrats to pass Ukraine aid. Johnson went to Mar-a-Lago and got Trump's blessing to do that. But right now, Tom Massie is working with Democrats to stop Donald Trump's choice from being Speaker of the House. That's what he's doing. He doesn't have support in the Republican caucus. He's teaming with Democrats to kill Johnson's nomination. So maybe we should stop having Republicans in the House teaming up with Democrats to thwart Donald Trump even before he takes office.
What are your thoughts on that, Megan? I mean, a very razor-thin margin. You got Thomas Massie, Victoria Sparks. There's a little bit of question in the air.
Yeah, I mean, this mandate that everyone was talking about in November seems to be pretty slim. Republicans can't even agree to have a speaker. How are they going to get Donald Trump's agenda done in the first 100 days without compromising with the Democrats? And they did not show a lot of good faith during the continuing resolution that we saw a couple weeks ago. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think it will go more than a couple of rounds because they also need to certify the election on Monday. But I do think they are going to have to learn how to work with Democrats or they are not going to get Donald Trump's agenda done in the first 100 days.
Yeah, Josh, I've got 30 seconds for you.
Yeah, it's a real question of whether Republicans can govern. They have full control of Washington, but if the first action that Republicans take is to take out or try to take out their own leader, that is the type of nihilism that will lead to a real disaster in office for Donald Trump. Now, I do think Donald Trump's endorsement should buck up a lot of Republicans who may have been on the fence, but it's going to be close, and it's a very narrow majority for Mike Johnson.
I'm looking forward to Massey's primary.
Going to be close, and if it goes late, we're going to have it for you on Fox News at night, tomorrow night, Friday.
Guys, I'm telling you, again, I've told you before on this channel, I am more excited, almost equally excited as much as just getting Trump in as getting the people around him in. Talking about like even Kash Patel. From the leading report, more FBI staff are allegedly threatening to resign if the Senate votes to confirm Kash Patel as FBI director. Excuse me. So this is what they're talking about. They cannot get in Trump's people, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, RFK Jr. They can't get them in if Trump is not president. He can't have his cabinet in, and they want to do this as fast as possible. But this is the thing. There's a lot more happening behind the scenes that I want to show you, especially when it comes to Kash Patel and the insight that he reveals. Doug Nolan, welcome to the family. Let's go. Crunk Jews, thank you so much for the super chat again. Said, let's say we swear in Trump. Johnson has bent to the Democrats more times than I could count. Look at how he stabbed Trump in the back with the spending bill. Johnson is no different than Paul Ryan. I agree. Crunk Jews, y'all show Crunk Jews and Doug some love in the chat. I agree. And that's my problem that I have is that I feel like people, instead of just taking the chance to do what is right and get the right person in, even if it takes a little longer, they're going ahead and putting in a weak spined person like Mike Johnson, who has given the Democrats everything they've wanted, has given so much money to Ukraine, approved FISA, agreed to so much pork and fat in the CR bill, and I just don't believe him to be a true MAGA. I believe that he gives the Democrats what they want and just wants to keep being the nice guy. And that's not what we need as speaker. We need a guy who's actually going to fight and get things on to the point where we're getting America back on track. That's what I'm looking for. Listen to this, because again, too, there's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes that you're not seeing, but that's why you come here, because I show you what you don't see on mainstream media. Check this out.
And the way we do it is, like you have this amazing show. You go out there, you are fearless in the media, and you care more about America than you do about your own regard. And when you put a group of people like that together, it has an effect. And I'm seeing it around the country. And that's what motivated me to file this lawsuit. I didn't want to go and sue the director of the FBI and the former Attorney General of the United States. But it's not about us. It's not about me. It's about showing Americans that if they're doing this to you, the Trump family, if they're doing it to career government servants, if they're doing it to senior staffers in Congress, if they're doing it to members of Congress, if they're doing it to people because they put their hand on the Bible or go to a house of worship, what do you think they're doing that you don't know about? We have to uncover that. And that's where I strike back at Congress again. We are 9 months into a Republican majority. I'll give you this in, I don't know, they wrote a letter, fine. I want the documents not for me. I want the documents for the American people at the next election cycle to show them that the FBI unlawfully surveilled us and got away with it.
Yeah.
What else did they do and get away with? And more importantly, what's the solution? in my opinion, the solution is sending Donald Trump back to the White House, of course, but it's going in with a full suite of personnel and the levers of purse strings that have to be snatched back from these government gangsters so that they are reminded that they work for us. And the other thing I talk about in my book, and people aren't going to like this, but we got to start impeaching judges. The last check that we have on our Constitution used to be the federal judiciary. And now we've seen them weaponized against Jan 6, against GJT, and against so many other people because they dared to vote for someone they disliked. These people are acting unconstitutionally, and Congress must impeach them when we have both houses of Congress back, hopefully in 2024. That is a drastic measure. And me as a former public defender and prosecutor, I didn't think I'd ever say that because I was like, judges are great. They wear the robe, they do the right thing. But now you look at any case that Donald Trump's been charged in, and almost every judge, except one, is handling this thing as if they were not a judge, but they were a political terrorist.
And guys, I'm telling you, this is why they're afraid, and this is why a lot of things are happening to try to keep not only Trump out of office, but to delay a lot of these things. So someone asked, they said, well, let's just get Johnson in, and then let's vote him out thereafter. So guess what? Things are changed, guys. This is the stuff that you don't see this stuff on the mainstream media. So before the Congress that's about to take chance now, that before, essentially this next week, it only took one person who could stand up and say, hey, I want to hold a speaker vote. Let's get McCarthy out. And then guess what? You had to hold a speaker vote. So the House Republicans unveiled a new rule which makes it harder to oust any speaker. It's already in place. You can't do nothing about it. You need 9 people in order to agree to stand up together and to say, hey, we want to vote to replace and basically fire this speaker. So it's not as easy as it was last time with McCarthy. And this is the type of thing that, man, if we get Mike Johnson in, he's pretty much there to stay, guys. He ain't going nowhere. That's why I'm very adamant about, I don't know if he's the right guy. I know Trump wants him, but I've just seen your track record tells me, that's what I look at is, tell me how you've been, and that'll essentially tell me what your future is. You look at Bongino, always been a patriot. Trump, always been a patriot. Even in the 1980s, I could show you videos where Trump said, we need to put America first. They're screwing us. All these other countries are screwing us, and we need to put America first. From the 1980s, everybody. But Mike Johnson has bent the knee to Democrats so much in the past year. It's crazy. The other thing I want to show you, too, is that things are getting super serious with the protection. I just showed you earlier, there's IEDs that are being found on trains. There's bomb things that are potentially in 18-wheelers. There was a plane that crashed into a factory in California. Now they're calling for the National Guard to go early to the Washington, D.C. to not only protect it, but to protect Trump and the MAGA people, because Trump is holding a huge D.C. rally on January the 19th, and he's saying we need to go ahead and do this because there's things that are leaking out. Check this out.
The current status of our security posture here in the homeland is absolutely substandard and, quite frankly, completely ineffective. The security is not security at all. This is why, and I posted last night, it's going quite viral now on X, that we really need to have a serious security posture looking forward to not just these attacks that have taken place and they're going to investigate and do all this, fine, but you missed it. So the heads of the FBI, the heads of DHS, Wray, Mayorkas, and not just the heads, but the entire chain of command at all of those organizations completely and utterly failed. Now, look into the switch on this. I've got, and I think a lot of people have, family that are now coming to D.C. You've got thousands and hundreds of thousands of people potentially looking at coming to D.C. for these massive rallies and the inauguration with President Trump. Apparently, he's doing a rally now that's been announced, or at least reported, at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., a public rally, at least it's indoors, as well as this huge outdoor inauguration. So we need to cut the crap. Bowser, Speaker Johnson, everybody needs to get together, figure out what we're going to do. And I've called for a National Guard deployment to Washington, D.C. to secure President Trump's inauguration. And I don't just mean on the day of January 20th, by the way. I mean a week prior and a week after. Look, we had how many thousands of National Guard there for Joe Biden's inauguration, by the way, which I attended. Hardly anyone else attended. And there was no problem with that. By the way, when we bring the National Guard in this time for Trump's inauguration, we're not going to make them sleep in parking garages. We're going to make sure that they get the finest accommodations. Maybe Nancy Pelosi's townhouse is available. But what we're going to do is make sure that the United States Capitol is completely secured so that none of these issues or potential issues are going to happen. And by the way, people are looking at these things now. You got Cybertrucks, you got EVs. Guess what? Those things, a lot of them, have self-driving modes. The Ford F-150 Lightning, which was used in New Orleans, the Cybertruck, which was used in Las Vegas, they've got self-driving modes. So you're talking about VBIDs, vehicle-borne IEDs, that could now be driven from a remote operator. You're talking about, look at the drone warfare that we've seen in Ukraine, these one-way attack drones or the FPV drones, the kamikaze drones that we've seen, or all the rest of it, not to mention the fact that you had two massive, quote-unquote, Secret Service failures within the last 12 months, another of which, by the way, massive Ukraine supporter. We just put up on X that apparently this Special Forces soldier, or he may actually have just left active duty within the last month or the last 6 weeks or so. It's hard to tell from his LinkedIn profile, but I've been in communication with someone who served with the Special Forces sergeant who apparently committed this attack, and we're told that he actually did leave active duty just within the last couple weeks before doing this. But we also found on his Facebook, apparently, is a photo of him wearing a Slava Ukraini shirt. Well, Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine. We had another Ukraine supporter, a massive fanatic of Ukraine, a foreign fighter, who tried to kill President Trump at one of his golf courses earlier this year. And then prior to that, we had the security, quote-unquote, failures of Butler, Pennsylvania. We all know the security situation is completely insane in this country. The FBI, the CIA, the DHS, they're all geared up for going around for peaceful people who took an unauthorized tour of the United States Capitol, and they either missed this or they looked the other way. Either way, there's a massive problem, and look, this is beyond politics. The current status of our...
And this is the point that a lot of them are trying to make, is that we're at a point now where we can't take any more chances. There's so many things that have happened. There's lives that have been lost. The threat is real. One of the things that is now being posted big time around is this right here. So instead of focusing on protecting people, the DOJ spent over $100 million pushing DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, restorative justice in classrooms. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. This is all true. Thank you so much, Shelly Bergman, for the super chat. Let's go. Said January 20th will be the great toilet flush. I love it. And Virginia Lamb, thank you so much for the super chat. Said he needs to be confirmed for the president. Let's let Trump take off running and possibly remove Johnson at a later time. President Trump needs him right now. Y'all show Virginia and Shelly some love in the chat. The threat is real. With what Biden has been discussing, plans to strike Iran nuclear sites before Trump's inauguration. Again, a lot of people are voicing their opposition to a lot of this craziness, and it's all warranted. You can't make this stuff up. We are literally now days away from Trump taking office. Yet we're continuing to see Biden is not stopping, and he's like literally making things worse for Trump. And all we can say is why? Listen to this, because something needs to happen. Check this out.
Point of order in Congress. What's the first thing you guys are going to try to tackle and solve?
Well, we'll actually be passing some bills in between now and January 20th. We're going to be going heavy into border security, America First energy bills, and we will be looking at how to set up everything in place for President Trump to move in quickly. Here's some things we should be concerned about, though. We know that this terrorist attack yesterday, both of those attacks mean that there could be more sleeper cells, and we hope and pray we don't see anything else happen in America. But also today, President Biden started talking about potentially launching an attack on Iran if Iran moves towards having any type of nuclear program. But Brian, I have to tell you, it's absurd for President Biden to make those kind of threats right now, because 2 days after the election, it was the Biden administration that actually authorized the release of $10 billion to go to Iran through Iraq.
Wow.
So here's the same president that actually funded Iran, but yet he's going to threaten a nuclear attack or some sort of military attack on Iran if Iran moves towards a nuclear program. And this is the kind of garbage that the American people are sick of.
Yep.
We want to get to January 20th. We want to inaugurate our president, and we're ready to take this city over, take our country back, and accomplish the Make America Great Again agenda that we have all wanted so badly for these past 4 years.
Guys,
point of order in Congress. What's the...
Golly's lagging. Do y'all hear that, guys? Of literally, how is it our administration is sending so much money? Not only have we been sending money to Ukraine, we're backdooring it into all these other places. I want to say this too. This is a big deal, guys, that it's not getting a lot of attention, but it is gaining a lot of, it's not gaining a lot of attention, but it's creating a lot of tension within the GOP party, guys. And this is about as real as it gets. So, excuse me. Bernie Sanders, not GOP, but Democrat, but is siding with a lot of Republicans over the H-1B visa program. Now, if you remember, this is the program that allows employers to be able to create a position online, and somebody who's an immigrant can come, work in the United States, and get paid, and the only way they stay here is if they keep that job. So if they lose their job, they're like automatically deported. So it's kind of one of those things where the employers, they say, take advantage of these employees, and also too, they don't have to pay them as much. So normally for a job that you would pay $75,000 a year for, these other positions you pay like half. So employers save a lot of money, but it's replacing Americans with immigrants for American jobs. Bernie Sanders said the main function of the H-1B visa program is not to hire the best of the brightest, which it's not. There's thousands and thousands of jobs on there where they're hiring cooks. They're just hiring regular teachers. It's not about just hiring the best engineers and technicians and whatnot, but rather to replace good-paying American jobs with low-wage indentured servants from abroad. So not only are they fighting against it, one of Trump's biggest supporters, Steve Bannon, is fighting against it too, and also his team. Listen to this.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what you view the United States of America as. Do you view it as a shell company, a holding company for the vested interests of the globalist ruling class, where children need to be raised from day one, how they can become the best maximizers of profit and value for corporations that to their core hate this country? Or are they human beings, right, chosen and birthed and come into this world by the hand of God, who should be allowed to, I don't know, engage in sports, have have a life outside of being an indentured servant, like so many of these HB1 or their spouses on the H4 visas, the lives that they live. Again, no shade to them. I'm sure you and I are enterprising people. We would be doing the same thing. But the idea that American people have to compete with essentially modern day slaves in order to quote unquote be successful is offensive and it's wrong. And if you want to do that, fine, go do that in another country that's not the United States of America. The founding fathers were the founding fathers because they appreciated individual liberty and freedom, and they had other things going on in their lives. They loved the idea of community and culture and township and kinship, not the idea that it was all about boosting profits for, I don't know, the British Empire. Insert the new tech oligopoly into that sort of matrix, that critique there. But it's so insulting. And Steve, to the core of it, it's also just a bald-faced lie that I reject the premise, right? When you look at the data, which, like I said, is not readily available, these foreign workers that they're importing, even if job culture were bad, are not even better, right? I mean, seriously, when you look at the numbers, since before President Trump took office, Steve, 72% of STEM engineers that have been hired in Silicon Valley under the age of like 46 or 50 are foreign born. Over half of American STEM graduates will never work in STEM fields. And the people who are involved on the sick, awful, sinister side of the dark side of this trade, this IT staffing companies, they know it. The CEO of Emphasis admitted in 2016, there are enough universities, enough ability to hire, enough ability to teach from the United States of America. That's a direct quote. And when they did a whole analysis, when they were able to get some comparative review between American workers in terms of literacy, their ability to understand numbers and code and all of that, which, like I said, are numbers that are not readily available. There's a chart you can put up on screen. Domestic workers outpaced the foreign-born ones by every single measure, in some cases many times over. And by the way, Steve, when you look at who they're importing, 83% of the people that they're importing, for at least for the H-1B category.
Guys, I want to show you this. A reason I'm pausing this is because remember, when they talked about the percentile, what are we doing? Are we bringing in the best of the best? Look at this right here. So when you look at natives versus immigrants and with the U.S. degree and then immigrants, I can't see what the other word is. If you add together the immigrants, it's 100%. They outdo, like it's the amount of people too, they outdo the natives, native-born citizens. But in the end of it all, native-born citizens do better at all the test scores with colleges and advanced degrees. So just want to pause this because, again, too, when they talk about bringing in the best of the best, they're still stepping over Americans to hire an immigrant, which statistically gets lower scores than a U.S. citizen.
Are all condemned to below the 50% mark of what the average American tech worker makes. So spare me the idea that we're importing the best and the brightest. And when you amortize it, when you look at it in terms of levels of skill, only 6% of the H-1Bs that they're importing fall under the quote-unquote fully competent level per GAO analysis. So the idea that because I had sleepovers when I was a kid, therefore renders me eligible to be replaced by someone who doesn't speak English, doesn't know the code, and is probably lying and is part of a visa system that is used for human trafficking and child trafficking and labor abuses and horrific crimes that are a stain on this country is absolutely insulting on so many levels, not just by Vivek, but by the big business interests on both sides who are pushing it. And you're seeing it today. And I'll bring Will in if I can with this just idiotic, I guess you're now allowed to say the word retarded, but I'll use it, this retarded Dignity Act that's co-sponsored and led by Republican Maria Salazar, who's the worst.
Guys, I'm telling you, the fight is real. Because remember, who's the big proponents of this? Vivek and Elon. Now, you had Trump who came and backed Elon, but you have a lot of GOP people, a lot of MAGA people that say, hey, why are you hiring people to come in and replace American workers. When you just heard it statistically, 94% of the people being brought over don't have degrees, aren't the best of the best. They're just normal people. So why are you replacing American workers? I'm telling you guys, we're about to see an unveiling, because remember, like I've said, it hasn't just been the Democrats. We've had a lot of Republican rhinos that have messed up a lot of America for the true patriots. But I wanted to show you this. So Eric Doherty, I think that's how you pronounce his name, said, let's summarize for its a coincidence, believers. 2 vehicle attacks on the same day within hours of each other. Both vehicles rented via Turo. Both suspects, U.S. veterans. Both suspects served at the same military base. I mean, you got to be kidding me. We also have where Elon Musk just posted this. Said, at real Donald Trump will put a stop to this. You mean our own government is running running psychological operations on us with a counterintelligence program funded by the money they extort from you every time you touch your money? Guys, there is so much corruption going on. I'm really trying to just understand what's going on. I wanted to show you this because this just broke a couple of hours ago too, that Apple, if you have an iPhone and you've had it for the past, say, like 4 or 5 years, Apple has agreed to pay a $95 million lawsuit to settle the lawsuit accused where its digital assistant, Siri, was listening in on its users' private conversations. So Siri was listening to you whenever it wasn't supposed to. They were taking that data, studying it, and then selling it to advertisers. And then all this, remember, Apple is a $3 trillion company. You think $95 million matters to them? That's 0.01% of what their worth is. That is nothing. That is a slap on the wrist to the, I don't know the number, but still to the amount of users that trusted them, and they were literally listening in on private conversations. These big companies need to be held accountable. Apple, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, Google, everybody. There's so much where they take the risk into account, guys. I know this stuff. They'll say, well, we'll do this, and if we get caught, well, we may have to pay $100 million. And $100 million is a lot. But whenever you're worth $3 trillion, $100 million is nothing. Remember, it takes 1,000 million to make $1 billion. So 100 million is just 10% of a billion. And then it takes 1,000 billion to make 1 trillion. So if Apple is worth 3 trillion, $100 million is nothing. I just wanted to show you this, guys. I don't know if they're going to pay out anything to anybody, but I know they are paying this huge fine to the government because, yeah, they need the money, and they stole the government's data, not ours. I mean, I just don't understand, but it's literally, we are living in such crazy times, but I want you to see the truth. I am here for you, everybody. Want to say to everybody, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. Y'all have been a phenomenal audience tonight. I love you all. Appreciate you so much. If you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button so that we can continue growing these videos. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. We do 2 shows a day, Monday through Friday, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. Want to give some shout outs to Lenville McQuinn, Pam Campbell, Crunk Juice, What's New, Lily O'Brien, Shelly Bergman, Virginia Lamb. I love it. Y'all show them some love in the chat. Show the members some love. Guys, I'm here for you. America First mentality. We got a big day coming up. What's going to happen with Mike Johnson? What's going to happen with Trump's inauguration? All of the hearings coming into place for all of his cabinet members. I love you all, guys. I'm going to give some shout outs to people in the chat. Camp Goer 1, appreciate you. Mr. Norby, love you, brother. Lily O'Brien, OG D-Dog. Deanna Scott, Lenville McQuinn, Sammy Smith, Darcy's T Corner, B1 Sly One, What's New, Camp Goer 1, Pam Campbell, GLO. Guys, appreciate y'all so much. Love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.